the week after Memorial Day, so that means it's been 2 weeks since the last time we walked around, and so much has changed because the weather's been on our side. I have all my seedlings planted, which includes a bunch of geraniums, the orange mavericks. I have clusters of 3 all throughout the border here, and I've also tucked in some impatiens. Over here we have the Picasso Supertunia and the Martha Washington geranium, or regal geranium. I have one poppy that's budded up. I don't know why the other 2 aren't. I think they're just a little bit slower. Yeah, there we go. So there are some buds in there. And then this large one over here, I saw, yep, big fat buds. So that's exciting. I have a couple of seedlings that were popped in here earlier, and I thought they were saponaria, but they are not. What is this? I don't remember, because it's very fine. Well, that'll be a surprise, I suppose. The sedum is looking very ugly. I chopped it back already because it gets extra floppy. My Japanese maple is the shining star for sure. Apple espalier is yet again a disappointment this year. I've had no blooms on it, and I'm seriously debating if it's gonna go altogether. I kind of like the structure of it, but it's really disappointing to not have fruit or blooms. Catmint is just starting to open up. It's amazing how large that is. I don't know if I'm going to cut back the sedum along the foundations the first year having that hedge completed. So if anybody has advice on whether or not they'll flop, I'm hoping that they won't, because it's dry, so maybe they'll be reaching up, or maybe because it's dry they will flop because they're going to be reaching out towards the sun. I don't know. But I am liking how it's coming along. And we have some poppies towards the back that I direct sowed this winter. The Centaria looks really nice, that purple. Over here, I'm debating some big change as well. Well, maybe not big, but the focal point, which would be that Rose of Sharon. I'm really tired of it. It's not beautiful to me, and the amount of seeds that it drops, kind of a pain in the butt for maintenance. And structurally in the winter, it'd be really great to have some kind of evergreen. I really like this tiny curls, but it is very petite. So I don't know what I could put there to balance it. I would love to have something weeping, but it can't get too large. And I'd also like to have one of those pretty little birch shrubs, the seskies, I believe it is. That could go there, and then we could have the big evergreen where the Rose of Sharon is. That Rigucci clematis is growing to beat the band. Can't wait to see that. Schubertii allium tucked in with these ones, which there's a bunch of different varieties that I had planted over the years, so I don't recall them all. So I'm hoping to make that more of a showstopper. New faucet, that's very exciting to me. Sedum bed looks good in ranunculus. We have a lot of buds. A few have shriveled up here and there, but overall it looks like really good performance. I can't wait to see. And hopefully they all bloom before I go away in a couple of weeks. This is past its prime for sure. I haven't cut back the forget-me-nots because they haven't quite set seed. They're on their way out, but they still look good. Pollinators are still there. I think it's time to divide this bleeding heart. I've never divided it. I do cut it back right about now when it starts to look kind of ratty. And then over here is my elephant ear that's just getting swallowed. So that should happen this week. Clean up a bit over here. There's a couple more Schubertii alliums, but they're kind of hidden. I'm gonna unearth them. And the geranium is just coming to life, which always looks really nice with those forget-me-not blooms. Oh, there's another Schubertii hiding over here. Cool. I've tied in the geraniums from the front kind of throughout. Over here we have some planted along with the honeywort, which I grew for the first time last year. Really enjoyed it. So I started my own and it's looking great. I did lose one seedling. Still no blooms yet on this clematis, but she's budded up. It's gonna be beautiful. And the purple bell vine's trying. I think it needs some more consistent heat. But I'm happy. Little maintenance is hanging in there. And over here, the little container garden, if you will. More or less the odds and ends. I did pop a tomato in here. I don't remember which one because unfortunately the seedling rack crashed in a windstorm. So tags fell out, some plants didn't survive. There's also some seedlings, sunflower seedlings. And this is the mojito elephant ear. And then I have sweet marjoram, is that what it is? Planted in this bed. A couple geraniums. And then a campanula. And more geraniums. The biggest change this season is the deer fence. I know it's not the most beautiful, but it was affordable. And for the amount of time I'm going to be gone, a couple of weeks, I really want to save my hostas this year. I kind of always seem to be behind the 8 ball in getting them covered, protected. Repellent doesn't always work because we are heavy deer pressure here. And this is kind of a holding bed, overstock. I kind of have an addiction now, as you can tell. This bed is pretty much full, yet I can't seem to stop buying hostas. This one is a seducer, which I got a really great deal. It was a gallon pot and it was humongous. I actually divided it. This is half, a little more than half of what was in that pot. The other piece is on the other side of the yard. I do not know what this hosta is. I have several divisions of it. I've had it for a long time. No idea. And this one, I should remember the name of it. Wide brim, that's what it is. I have many divisions of wide brim. For some reason, that seems to be a prolific one. There's one behind that milk can as well. Cool as a cucumber. This bed I've been trying to stay on top of with slug bait. Because of the amount of leaf cover, it does get much more slug damage. Oh yeah, and I also planted this little tree that's been in a pot for probably 3 or 4 years into the ground. And the heuchera actually had a really nice winter. They all look pretty good this year, which every year I say I'm going to treat them as annuals, and here they are. So this deer fence we put up, I don't know how it's going to fare. It will at least slow them down. It may not prevent them all summer, but that's okay. I always skip over this. It took me a minute to remember what this was. This is Corydalis. I got that last year. It should bloom little tiny yellow blooms. And this lamium is the white blooming one. And little mouse ears hosta. And this is the Hope Springs Eternal, all ruffly and variegated. Trying to get over here to show the view of the Solomon seal. A little bit droopy, and then this beautiful columbine, which self-seeded right there. Really pretty. Come on. I love how it's just tucked into the rocks, like natural vista. Because of the fence, we're gonna have kind of a different perspective, kind of from the side. This is the Brother Stefan hosta, excuse me. Always gets larger and larger. I really don't know the full potential. I probably should divide it. Last year it was huge, and the deer, of course, came along and grazed it right down. I am a little concerned. It looks like it's reverting, which I just read. Yeah, it looks like it's all of that clump. So I might have to remove that clump and see that the rest of the plant will hopefully maintain its variegation. Hopefully, we'll see. This is my blue ivory. I love the brightness of that. A no-name hosta back here that I've had for years and years. We have the Abiqua drinking gourd, very small, took it rough. And back there is another wide brim division. And this over here is the main wide brim. These are some new geums that we're trying. The peach, and then I do have a pink one as well. Then we have June Spirit, nice and glossy. Another favorite. Then we have June. I just love how these forget-me-nots are so dainty and tucked in. This is the Crossa Regal, which was devoured last year for the first time. I did divide it, and she's come back in full glory. Still looking good. And then, of course, I don't remember what some of these perennials, somehow the labels have either blown away, been misplaced. I try to be really good about putting the permanent labels in. I will do a video on how I kind of keep track of things. One Last Dance, which always looks electric when it comes out in the beginning of the year. Dark Side of the Moon is still B. And this is all yellow primrose. That'll be beautiful. Gonna keep it in check. It's starting to get a little bit too far out, as well as this bugleweed. As beautiful as it looks with the Astilbe though. This lady's mantle is tall. It's above my knees. I've never seen it so big. And then we have Sun King Aurelia, Amsonia. That I got last year. Doesn't look like much. Hudson Bay is another new hosta this year and one of my favorites. I am a huge fan of the blue. I just love the variegation in it as well. Such a nice complement to the dark. This is a chocolate shogun Astilbe with the columbine behind it. Oh, and we have Autumn Frost, Praying Hands, and then Double Bloody Mary geum I've had for several years, kind of an orangey red. Another one of the peach geums. I haven't deadheaded that. And then this fella, I cannot remember. Nope, there's no name on it. Can't remember which one that is. I got it at a sale last year. So Captain Kirk, right here in the front. And then this is Colored Hulk. Back here where there's Loyalist. And I think that is also a Hudson Bay. I must have planted that one last year. Beautiful. And then this is something I've never grown before. Let's see if it will focus there. So something different. I thought, well, let's try it because it's kind of wet back here. So pretty much this is my hosta bed. I don't want to overstuff it. Like I could theoretically fill every nook and cranny, which hey, maybe I will. We'll see. And you'll notice there's not a ton of slug damage just yet. I've been pretty diligent about putting, oh, hold on, there's a baby froggy. I've been putting my slug bait down. Where are you going, little dude? I'm not gonna be able to see it. Where is it? And with all of the wetlands, I've had so many little toadies and frogs, which is great because I had a lot of mosquitoes and bugs back here. Come on. Oh, I just love the ethereal look of all of the forget-me-nots. I do also enjoy having pops of red. So once the forget-me-nots are gone, I probably will sneak in some more heuchera or coleus. Sorry, I had to stop and kill a slug as I'm saying about the diminished amount. They're still there, but compared to what I dealt with last year, nowhere near as bad. The bait has been helping. So this poor garden is naked, not protected. I would like to eventually put up some fencing. I'm gonna have to get some more, but it'll happen when it happens. Pallets are here because this is the wettest part of the land. This creeping Jenny is a total thug, and I've been trying to keep it in check. It's a bit of a challenge because it's so compacted here, but I do love how it glows, especially with that heuchera. This is a container that I planted up. We have the coleus, verbena, Picasso supertunia, and nemesia. I don't know how strong it'll be because it is pretty shady. Another autumn frost. These stilbe are beautiful. My Brunnera were terrible this year. Terrible, very disappointing. This is another hosta with no tag. Huge leaves. I don't dare guess. I want to guess, but I don't dare to. I don't know what it is. We'll have to kind of give it some time. We'll see what happens. Woolala survived the winter in that container out front where it was more protected. Super cool how dark it is. Another One Last Dance. And then we have Diamond Lake. No Name, another one of those variegated ones that I have several of. This was the Crossa Regal division, and another Diamond Lake. And my Meadow Rue from last year survived as well. The butterbur is starting to get eaten up by the bugs. I have not been maintaining that whatsoever. A little bit more mulch has been put down. We still have a little bit more to go. This is the hydrangea I dug up from my parents. The bottom portion is dead, and it was kind of separated from the main trunk, but when I planted it, I didn't want to mess with it any more than I already had, so eventually I will pull that out. Not the most beautiful deer fence, but it has been functional, and even though it's just plastic fencing, it's so much more tidy feeling in here, just being blocked off like it is. The stock has been gorgeous. I actually have cut several bouquets. I'm really happy that I grew a couple of different kinds this year, not just the mix, although the mix is beautiful. And only a few of them that I left that I thought I selected all doubles. There were a few singles, and that's okay. They still have their place. Looks like the snaps over here are gonna go any day now. They've been productive. And there are blooms down here on the ranunculus that I've tossed over here. So kind of a hodgepodge. We have the black-eyed Susan in the front, Craspedia, ranunculus, several different snapdragons, larkspur in the back, Sweet William, Bupleurum, more snaps, bachelors, and I believe more saponaria. And these over here are sunflowers. We have the dill and the white Asiatic lilies that I planted did not come up. A little discouraged on that. I think I can still get some more, and they're on clearance now. Dahlia over there, and dahlia over here. The chipmunks have taken over my entire land again, so I will be putting out some chipmunk traps because they're driving me nuts. Constant noise. All of these little baby seedlings are ageratum from last year. So we've got celosia, one ageratum I started from seed, one lisianthus, so puny, then all the clary sage. I had several of the cosmos get eaten, I'm assuming by slugs. Could be birds. The birds really love to poke around in here. Straw flower looks like I'm getting some damage to that. Another dahlia. Marigolds I started from seeds. Siam tomato, which will remain small. Cage is more or less for protection. And this is another digging playpen for the birds, if you will. Sweet peas are still boring duds. Onions are doing okay, along with that geranium in the corner. It's hanging in there. We've dried up some compared to the river that's been running most of the spring. It's manageable. Usually by now the deer have eaten all of those daylily clumps as well. That's a good sign. Fencing was restructured over here, so we have chain link in the front. I was able to acquire a couple more panels. I do need to give them a coat of paint so they look a little nicer, but I like how much more solid it looks compared to what it was before. And then with just the netting in the back, I'm hoping things will grow up so you won't really see that as clearly. To repeat the color of that orange maverick geranium, we've got them planted over here with the smiley sunflowers, and this is mostly annuals. This one bright green little dahlia I discovered in my basement yesterday. I didn't think it was viable, and I went down there to check on some houseplants and found she had sprouted. It's kind of dark, so give her a fighting chance. Kind of sort of attempted a marigold border just for some consistent color. They're struggling to take off. These are all zinnia I had to resow because I had terrible luck starting them this year. Those were the only survivors there in the middle. Pretty disappointed by that because zinnias are a favorite. Now they're all going to be in bloom when like all the flowers are in bloom late summer. Cosmos. This is a ground cherry. Then we have a sun gold cherry tomato. This one is the tiny spoon tomato, which is literally like pea-sized tomatoes. It just sounded too cool not to try it. That's another Siam tomato. And then cucumbers, we have Tasty on the left. And I have no idea how to say this one. Sounds cool from the description on the seed packet. This is the only hibiscus that I've seen come back to life. Fingers crossed. The one on the side of the house does. Another dahlia, which those were not marked very well, so it'll kind of be a surprise show. This is a Phyllis marigold in the front that's feathery. Feverfew, saponaria, bunch of achillea in the back, and the Sweet Annie pot is going to town. That thing's loving its life. So I do have some blank spots if I decide to do more perennials or start something late, but for now I'm okay with the amount of plants we have. This is another Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe. Peony are all budded up. Well, maybe not all. I would say 3 of the 4. This one seems to be lagging, and it does get the most shade. So this is the other half of that Seducer hosta that I was saying I got in a 1-gallon pot. This hosta was a gift from a friend. No idea what it is. She is not a hosta person, and I really enjoyed it. That was beautiful. And then down here we have the Sanguis sorba little angel. Pretty cool. It likes wetland, and wetland I do have. So that's a viewing for now, almost the 1st of June, with really nice weather overall. We've had some decent heat, not too much rain, some sun. Oh, and then we have a drooling old dog who was doing a lot of sniffing. That's it for now.